He said, well, I'm going to tell you what, you are my company from now on, because I know you'll make right what was done wrong. I know mistakes happen, things happen, people don't know how to handle situations. So that was an opportunity for me to talk about how we had so failed in those core values and yet went on, and now we have a customer for life.
The epitome of beyond the mom and pop. This is what you started out with. It's what I started out with in Ontario back in 2003. We started out as mom and pop, but we grew through it and beyond it. And I love to see that businesses like yours are doing so well and still growing, but still maintaining the same core of those mom and pop values. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is values, because one of the things that you gave me when we met and had our chat was a little booklet that you give to all your staff. And on the front, it says core values. There's 4 or 5 pages on the values that are now enshrined as the core principles of your company. So can you talk a little bit about what those values are and how you went about selecting them?
So primarily, well, I'll tell you what the core values are. If you want to say, our mission statement is heart of hospitality, providing happy connections and lasting memories. So how do we do that? We do it first with respect, and then integrity, teamwork, trustworthy, empathy, and servant leadership. So these values really were things that Ken and I, 45 years ago when we got married, have worked on in our family, in ourselves. And so it was what we would share at work. We never had these written down until 18 months ago. Matt Landau and Steve Schwab inspired us to get this done through a retreat we went to, and it just has taken off. It's just amazing. But really, it just started with what our values were. And so as we sat down as a team and started discussing our own personal values and then talking about core values as a company, it just came up over and over again, these 6 core values as the basis of what Beach Getaways is about.
I love that you say, you've always worked with these values, but sort of in your head, and just shared, I would suppose, verbally with your team. What difference did it make to you to actually do this exercise? And as you say, kudos to the key retreats and Matt Landau and Steve Schwab for inspiring you to get ahead of this. I was just blown away when I saw this booklet. It just took me back to my 20 years as a property manager and thinking, oh, I wish we'd done this. I wish we'd done this. I wish we'd had the time or really thought about it to write everything down, because so much of what we do in this business is in our heads, and certainly in the founders' heads.
I think one of the things that it's done is it's in print. And so when something's in print and you hand it out to someone, it makes it real. It's not a concept, it's something that we're agreeing to as a company, that we're going to abide by these core values, so that, as Steve said, if someone can't get an answer to something, all they have to do is look at these 6 core values and make a judgment based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the thing that's great about it is it empowers people to grow in their own core values, to grow in what they're representing on a daily basis. And so to me, this has catapulted our culture in our company, because people will talk about, well, if we're in a meeting, we need to work on our teamwork because this didn't happen the way it should have happened. They're bringing it up, so they're buying in. Or if you're helping someone with something that didn't go well, you can go back to the core values and say, where do you think you fell short in these core values, that it might have made a difference if you had thought about it. And what's wonderful about that is you're, again, empowering people to be people of character. And to me, that is more valuable than anything that we have done as a company, because it's clear, it creates a safe environment, it creates an opportunity for people to be trained in character.
Mhm.
So it's wonderful. I just can't say enough. And I'm like you. I wish we had done it years ago.
Yeah, just to make it a little clearer for those who are listening, the booklet talks about each of the values and has a couple of bullet points. So let's take integrity for one. It had the bullet points are I will be honest and fair in all my actions, and I will always do the right thing even when no one is looking. And I love that one. How did you come to that one? That is that just that is that just part of that value of integrity, that you still do the right thing even when you're away from anybody who might care?
Well, I think some people think integrity is if I look good enough, maybe they think I've done a good enough job. But ultimately, integrity is about who's within you, where
Hmm.
you lay your head on the pillow at night. So true integrity is I'm going to do the right thing whether anybody ever sees it, acknowledges, or knows it. And the first statement is just a statement about what integrity is. The other is an actionable item,
Hmm.
something very practical they can walk away with and say, "Oh, this is what this means." There's no confusion over the definition when you know do the right thing when no one is looking. That's where it comes down to.
I love the descriptions underneath each one of these as well. I mean, for integrity, you say by choosing integrity over profit or recognition, it sends a message that the organization is committed to doing what is right and building a positive reputation based on honesty and fairness. There's a lot of new businesses popping up these days, and their core value appears to be making money. And as I mentioned about this group of guys in the car park in Miami that Matt was talking to, and I think by writing this down, by printing it, it builds it builds a confidence, I think, in your team, your staff, that the business is going in the right direction and it has a true foundation to it.
We made them because this is who we need to be in order to service and to make right on the agreements we've made with our guests and our owners and our vendors and our employees. So, yes, it probably cost us a bit to do the right thing, but I sleep better at night knowing I did the right thing. And I think people feel safer in this environment as an
Hmm.
employee. They feel protected, they feel looked after, they know we're going to address things if we see they're not going well. And that creates a culture that is healthy. And I just can't tell you how many interviews we've done, and we use the core values in our interviews that people said, "Does this really happen here? My company has core values, but we don't really do it." And then we're like, "No, this is the only way we can run this company and be happy there, be encouraged there, enjoy your work." This is a hard industry. I mean, it takes a lot of self control to be in this industry. And if you don't have some good character, it's not going to go well, or you'll burn out. And we certainly don't want that for our employees at all.
How have you integrated these core values into the everyday operations of your business?
Well, we use them in everything we do, actually. It starts when we are taking on a new owner. We share with them a booklet. They get to take it home with them that this is our core values, this is how we run our companies. When we do interviews, we talk about this is our core values, and you can kind of get a read on people. And I even ask them sometimes, which of these are the hardest for you? Because we're not all perfect in any of them, but of all of them, but we all have to work on them. And so that tells you a lot about people. I think the other thing is we talk about it with our vendors. When we hire new vendors to work with us, we let them know what our core values are. See, there's continual accountability in that as well, because we're putting ourselves out there to say what we are going to do. And people will say, "Well, this didn't happen according to what you said." And then we're like, "You're right." So the integrity in us has got to make it right. So I think those are the ways that that works. We use them in meetings, in team meetings every week. Every week there's team meetings that we talk about core values. And whether it's one team member picks a core value they want to talk about, or if they caught somebody doing a core value that they saw and it made an impression on them, they share that and encourage that person. We talk about it in our leadership group. We talk about it one on one. I had to have a talk with one of my managers about how she had gossiped in the office. And really, it came from frustration, and she was in her mind venting. But she said it in a way and in an audience that it created mistrust. So I talked about, the respect and the trustworthiness of our teammates and of our owners and of our guests. We can't do that now. You need to come in my office and vent for 10 minutes, come on in and I'll have a listen because I understand that. But at the same time, we're using these core values to help people with the decisions they make and how to work through the frustrations and what to do with those frustrations.
Yeah, talking through frustrations then, there must be challenges sometimes in maintaining the values in your business. I know that we had them, and maybe it was dealing with a guest who perhaps had unreasonable expectations and, trying to have that empathy, trying to have that respect for their opinions and work through an issue. Do you have any examples of a situation where this occurred, maybe in a guest situation?
In a guest situation, yes, I have a doozy for that. One we failed in, actually. A guest had rented a really beautiful home in the 30A area, and while they were there for the week, the owner called and asked if they could have the contractor drop off some equipment that they were going to remodel with the next week when the guests left. So they agreed to it, and then whenever the next day came around, the contractor decided that they were just going to go ahead and get started on this project with the guest in the house. So we kind of worked through that. Well, I really didn't know about it until the tail end of it, but as they were working through it, they were trying to accommodate the guest, accommodate the owner. The property manager got in the middle of it and didn't know who to answer to the most, which of course she needed to have advocated for the guest, but ended up just being a mess. The guest left early. And so, since my title on the website is guest services manager, I get a really long, very well thought out, well written letter to me about his experience and what they had offered him in compensation for his really ridiculousness. So, what I started out in my letter is I wrote down our core values. I put them all, listed them all out. And I said, we have failed you in every single one of these situations. But what I'd like to do is completely refund you your money for your time that you were there, which was a lot of money. And what I hope is that we can have a conversation about this. And so please let me know if you would like to converse. I would love a chance to talk with you. So he emailed back and said, yes, I'd love to talk to you. We ended up having an amazing talk. He'd been a guest 2 times before with us. He said, I've always had a great experience with you. So I thought something must be wrong if that happened. So he gave us a chance to make it right. And so after the conversation, he told me, he said, well, I'm going to tell you what, you are my company from now on because I know you'll make right what was done wrong. He said, I know mistakes happen, things happen, people don't know how to handle situations. And so that was an opportunity for me to talk about how we had so failed in those core values and yet went on and now we have a customer for life.
So, if you were advising somebody else that's coming into this industry right now and they want to build a value driven business, what would you advise them?
It kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Don't create your values for your bottom line.
Hmm.
You have to decide what kind of company do you want to be associated with. And then don't wait 12 years to write them down.
That
Start,
is great.
right? Please don't wait. I think it would have helped us so much in how we hired, who we hired, when we hired, all types of things, what owners we will and won't accept. I mean, even in our core values, we've had to let go of owners because they can't adhere to them. And so I think having the courage to live out those values in your company is so wonderful. It builds a community in your company. It's a place of safety. It's a place where people feel valued and respected, and they really don't want to leave. They
Hmm.
want to keep working there, which I love. So I would really say, really don't wait. I think it's so important. And I think one of the things that I love from Steve Schwab in his Credo book that he created for Costco, I mean, ours is like, I don't know, like a funny papers compared to his, but it's like so amazing what he's done. And he was so encouraging and humble with me. And he said, Deb, this is about our 40th iteration. This is your first. And I
Mhm.
thought, that's wonderful. I'm glad we had the courage just to start. And that's what I would say. Just start creating those core values.